We all have to learn our skills. None of us is born as an expert. But how early should we start specializing? Or maybe even better to say, should we focus on building universal skills, maybe, instead of just trying to be an expert in one area? First, let's establish what the expert looks like. How about Albert Einstein? Would you agree? Expert. I could put Luciana Pavarotti there, Rafa Nadal, Esther Ledecká, you name it. But what would be the example of someone with universal skills? Bond. James Bond in all shapes and forms, as you can see here. But you might say, give me someone from real life. Then I would go with astronaut. Because astronauts, they have to be technically equipped, manually equipped. They have to understand stuff, be able to fix anything which comes their way because nobody else will do it. They have to speak languages. So I would say they are a good example for someone with universal skills. My question is, do you think we are actually building and creating more Einsteins or astronauts or Bonds? The first experience we all encounter usually outside our homes with our parents is actually sport, sporting activity. Yes, of course, people play on instruments, dance, do arts and many other things, but the most common one would be some kind of sporting activity in the age of 3 to 6. Why is this important? Because it really has direct impact on our healthy growth and development. Sport influences our brain connections. It increases and improves cognitive skills. It's going to have direct impact on your ability to learn and educate yourself. So it's not just for fun, it has its role, and each sport develops a little bit different area. And brain is a very difficult tool, as somebody explained ahead of me here today. The brain wants to really repeat stuff, ideally. It wants to save energy. But if you do different sports and you challenge yourself with different movements, you're actually increasing your abilities, not only from the physical point of view. So in reality, what's really happening is that kids very often become some kind of product of success or for success. Age 3, 4, 5, 6, you have sports like gymnastics, swimming, ice hockey, tennis. If you don't start at the age of 3, 4, 5, 6, and you come with your child, try it. Come with your child like I did. I have 3 sons, as already mentioned here, and we went to swimming club, and I said, you know, we want to start swimming here, but kind of competitively. We were told Michael Phelps had already Olympic medal in your age, I mean the age of your son. So I said, okay, well, I like Michael Phelps, but I want my son still to swim and compete, so why is it important? But we are doing this, and with these sports I mentioned, and you would probably find some other examples, it's very common that kids are 15 years old, they have been doing their sport professionally over 10 years, they are tired, chewed up, they're also very often very injured, and they haven't tried anything else, which is not good because this is going to influence their life. They are not going to go for other options maybe, even in some other areas. One example, I will just pick tennis, which I like very much, but tennis is one of the toughest ones. Everybody knows Rafa, Roger, Novak, but over 1 billion people are apparently interested in tennis in the world, and over 100 million people play it on some level. And everybody knows these 3, maybe a couple of other guys from top 10. But who knows Christian Garin? I can't see you here, so I wouldn't know whether you actually raised your hand, but I would assume not many people know Christian Garin. This guy is last 2 years number 17, 18 in the world on ATP. He's from Chile. I bet in Chile he's very popular, but nobody really knows him, and he's a brilliant tennis player. That's how cruel this game is, because everybody knows just the top. If you play football, you have your chances are a little bit higher. Because actually 17, 18 would be, based on Ballon d'Or from last year, Raheem Sterling from Manchester City or Sadio Mane from Liverpool. You know these names if you follow sport a little bit and football. So this is what's happening in our life today, in our reality, that kids are being specialized far too early and influences their life. In the past, as you can see, Discobolos, Miron's sculpture, everybody knows, he actually represents a discus thrower. But that's far from that, because he was actually all-rounder. They had to compete in 10 different events. It wasn't just discus. Same thing applies to medieval activities like the knights' games, when the knights had to compete on horses, with swords, in archery. They even played chess. So it was all about all-rounders. They wanted to see who is the best in all of it, not just one as a specialization. Let's see other area of our lives. Education comes after sports usually, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then school, 6 to 7 years old. How are we doing here? I'll say we start with a couple of subjects. It starts widening a little bit later, and then it starts narrowing, which kind of makes sense. I like that answer I received from the student at Harvard University when I visited, and he told me, we have to know a little bit about everything and a lot about one thing. That's a useful thing for life, because when we come to our jobs, then think of you being all-rounder and you go to interview, where of course employers quite logically are seeking some specific skills. And you come there as an all-rounder and you don't have that skill. You're not going to be successful, I guess. But what if you have that skill and you have other skills as well? Will you be successful in that interview? I actually think not, because you will be overqualified. You will probably be asking far too much money. So you are not going to succeed much, because employers really want some specific skill, and it really only strong managers, it takes strong managers to actually take someone to their teams who might be actually much better than you in many different areas. But if you want to be CEO on a top management level, these people need to be all-rounders. And if you have your own business, your private business, you are all-rounder by definition. You have to deal with tax, law, sales, operations, everything, HR. So all-rounders in the business, in the corporate sense, are actually important, but it is very much here about specialization, which starts from that education and to our jobs. Let me share with you one real-life example, and that is going to be my own, because that's the only one I don't have to ask anyone's permission to share it here with you. When I was a child, this is early 70s, I was in Soviet Union, living there with my parents. It was a time of Soyuz Apollo. I loved astronauts. I loved the idea of seeing the Earth from the universe. And so I wanted to be an astronaut. I haven't done it yet, but I'm on the list of Richard Branson's space program for two seats to get there. So I might see it one day. And as Amit mentioned, I've visited many countries around the world, worked on the projects on all continents. And my personal best, which kind of sounds crazy, but when I was 12, and that's just going back to my life with my parents when we were moving around a lot. When I was 12, I went to 4 schools in 4 school months. So I had a chance to see change a lot, and the change actually was a big word in my life. Professionally, and that's going to be mixed with my love for sports, I first did my legal pentathlon, I would call it. Being trained to be a judge, army prosecutor, then with UK law firms, advocate, and in-house, and so on. Then I went to, I would say, corporate triathlon. The CEO of a company, the finance company, then commercial banking leader, and then group strategy leader. But then I went on paternity leave with our 3 sons, Mario, Diego, Romeo. We have with my wife, and I spent 18 months on paternity leave. And on my return, I was fired. I didn't expect that. It was a shocking experience. And I thought I will never work for any corporation again. So I started my own business, consultancy, worked in Asia and some other places, selling businesses, restructuring businesses. And it was really like a decathlon, because I was doing constantly some other things. Now, in my 4th decade, I entered with Česká, spořitelna, and I'm actually combining all together. I'm working in my job where I need negotiations, I need legal stuff, finance, I need to do partnerships, and it's in sports, culture, and entertainment, which is a fantastic area and fantastic topics I have to deal with. But the most important in my life was always sports, and this is my first multi-event championship. When I beat these taller guys, I think actually they let me win, but I really was very proud. And since then, I was constantly developing more and more activities, challenging people in athletics and racket sports and many other areas. And eventually, we got up to the level when I developed this project, Universal Sportsman. And it really covers now 150 sports. At 1 year, it was 180 sports, which people do on an annual basis. And the good news is it's also for kids up to 10 years old. So with kids, juniors, men, women, and we are competing in everything from trap shooting, pole vault, water ski, cycling track, anything you can see right here. And I'm going to cut it short because it's 50 seconds, but I want to show you this one. These kids, in 2012, were the only kids in the world who did 100 sports before the age 10. And now they are taller than me, of course. They do many other sports, like my sons, they were doing 10 different sports. They will never bring any gold medal from the Olympics because they are all-rounders, but they love sport. They love playing anything which comes their way. This is what happens when you have universal sports guy and like a gymnast doing the winter tests. It really creates unique situations like this one. And I'm lucky that my current employer is actually feeling about the same as I do. This company not only tries to create the financial health company, but also supports financial health of the people with their physical exercise. And there are 11 different projects. I will just mention one. Altogether, it covers nearly 1 million people inspired to physical exercise. And there's one project which is with kindergartens. There's 1,600 kindergartens and like nearly 100,000 kids. We are teaching how to properly physically exercise so their life is going to be better and they will be more healthy and they will develop not only their physical abilities but in the future their education chances and potential. So don't get me wrong, I absolutely respect experts. Experts are needed. If you are on the plane and your pilot can play violin, but in the moment of truth he's not a great pilot, you wouldn't care much, you know. Your surgeon needs to be actually very good in surgery and you wouldn't care he's also a triathlete. You really need these people to be very good in what they do, and I respect them very much. I watch Leo Messi every night when he's on the pitch. But what I'm trying to say here, and my message is that if you keep adding your new tools and new experiences into your lifetime toolbox, then it's going to create such a nice set of colors, which really looks like this rainbow right here. So thanks very much.